Imagine being a child in school and not being allowed to play. Could you imagine going to school every day knowing that you weren't allowed to play in your class? How can someone expect a child to express themselves if they aren't allowed to play in a classroom? Unfortunately, for some elementary students, some schools don't allow play in the classroom and don't even allow them to have toys in the classroom. I am exceptionally passionate about this topic because I am a future educator. Myself and my potential future students could be affected by this matter. I hope to never have to put any of my students through a whole day of school without play. My argument today is simply this. Play holds a huge importance in a child's life, and schools need to let play occur in the classroom in order for children to learn and develop. I want to take the time today to explain to you all why children need to play to develop socially, emotionally, physically, and intellectually. Play starts at the beginning of life, as does development. Miss Wood, from the book Young Children, stated, "Preschool years are not only optimal for children to learn through play, but also a critical developmental period. The earlier children learn how to play, the sooner children will begin to develop their minds and their bodies." Piaget and Vygotsky, child development psychologists and theorists, would agree with that previous statement. And they would also agree that when children are in this critical developmental period, they are learning how to develop socially, intellectually, physically, and emotionally. These four areas are so closely knitted, although they can be learned and developed in so many different ways through play. When children play, they are developing their social skills. They are learning to communicate to one another when they hold conversations or act out stories. They learn to share their thoughts and physical objects with each other. In a Washington Post article, Angela Hanscom discussed how great of a student her daughter was. When Angela's daughter was very young, she enrolled her in a preschool that focused mainly on academics, and they attended enrichment classes together. Angela wanted only the best for her daughter, but was only thinking about the development of her daughter academically. Angela stated, "My wake-up call was when the preschool teacher came up to me and said, 'Your daughter is doing well academically. In fact, she's exceeding the expectations in these areas. But she's having trouble with basic social skills like sharing and taking turns.'" The reason behind this was because play was not occurring in everyday life like it should. When children aren't given the opportunity to share and socialize, they aren't going to be able to practice and learn these skills. Another way that children develop is intellectually. As previously stated, play can assist in cognitive development as well. One type of play that helps children support in developing intellectually is storytelling. Vivian Gusson-Paley believes that children learn best through play, even fantasy play. In her book, The Boy Who Would Be a Helicopter, she discusses the uses of storytelling in her classroom. If Vivian Gusson-Paley wasn't sitting back and listening to them tell stories and watch them act things out and play on their own, she would let the students come up with the stories, and she would write each line of the story on a piece of paper and then let them act it out on the stage in front of their classroom. In particular, one of the children, Jason, discovered about himself as a person just through storytelling. Jason discovered who he was and where he belonged. The children don't only learn about or from themselves, they learn from and with other classmates. Vivian stated, "Somewhere in each fantasy is a lesson that promises to lead me to questions and commentary, allowing me to glimpse the universal themes that bind together the individual urgencies." Really think about this quote. Each of the stories that the children think of or have really experienced in life tell about open doors for so many life and content lessons that a teacher can incorporate in a classroom. Each of these stories that the children write makes room for Vivian to ask open-ended questions that will make the children think critically. Thinking critically is just another part of a child's intellectual development. Physically, children need play. Without play, they wouldn't have the chance to run, skip, hop, climb a tree, or jump around. This is when children will explore how to problem solve when they encounter problems or challenges. Miltier from the official journal of the American Academy of Pediatrics stated, "Aside from children learning how to solve problems, they will be avoiding obesity." While nature is a huge part of most people's lives, being outside and giving the children room to explore will provide many countless ways for them to learn problem-solving skills, develop their brains, and avoid obesity. Having areas with water, walking paths with different materials, trees, flowers, and playgrounds with things like monkey bars, rock walls, slides, and swings will offer children that sense of exploration. According to the scholarly article, Benefits of Connecting Children with Nature, children who experience school grounds with diverse natural settings are more physically active, more aware of nutrition, more civil to one another, and more creative. When relating children's emotions with play, there are many things that could be discussed, but I will focus on the child named Jason, who I mentioned earlier. In Vivian G. Paley's book that I mentioned previously, she talked a lot about a young child named Jason. Jason was the boy who would be a helicopter and was struggling to find ways to cope with his emotions. Throughout the book, he was always wanting to play the part of the helicopter in every story, even the stories that weren't his own. Jason was trying to express his emotions, and Vivian was slowly trying to peel back those layers to see how he deals with those emotions. By the end of the year, Vivian discovered that the reasoning behind Jason always wanting to play the role of the helicopter was because he didn't know how to deal with the transition from home to school, with it being his first year, so he found comfort in playing the part of the helicopter. Jason was expressing his emotions in this way, through play. Role play, like in Jason's experience, can show how children handle their emotions, whether that would be caring for someone, showing empathy, or getting angry. Now I want you all to close your eyes. Picture being that student in school who's exploring outside, sharing toys with their friends in the classroom, or acting out your own stories. Doesn't it seem like you're being able to learn so much more about yourself and from your teacher and other classmates? According to Ann Silbert from the New York Times, most academic researchers say they have known that children learn best when they are allowed ample time to go shopping at a pretend grocery store or figure out how to build bridges with wooden blocks. Play has its obvious upsides that many child and teacher advocates can side with. Children who grow up in playful learning environments are more likely to develop that socializing attitude, intellectual thinking, physical physique, and emotional stableness. As Marilyn Rice from Virginia Department of Education's Training Assistance Center stated, teachers must focus on creating opportunities for higher level of thinking by incorporating time, space, and materials for play. This can continue to get better if teachers like myself come together to keep or bring back play in the classroom.